The history of Halloween, explained in Minecraft. The origins of what we now call Halloween can be traced back to the British Isles during the Iron Age, where the native Celts celebrated a festival called Samhain on October 31st. This celebration marked the end of the summer and the harvest season, and signified the beginning of winter. The Celts believed Samhain was also a day when spirits returned to the earth. During the celebration, Celtic priests known as Druids would build sacred bonfires, burn crops, and sacrifice animals to Celtic deities. Once the celebrations ended, participants took a flame from the sacred bonfires to relight the hearths in their homes to prepare for the upcoming harsh winter. It was the beginning of Halloween. During the 1st century CE, the Roman Empire was doing what the Romans did best, conquering new lands and appropriating the native people's culture. When the Romans invaded the British Isles, they incorporated various Celtic traditions into their own festivals and celebrations. In particular, they combined the aforementioned Samhain with the Roman festival of Feralia, taking place in late October, which also commemorated the passing of the dead. It was the beginning of Halloween. Just like the Romans, the Catholics also appropriated other cultures' festivals and celebrations into their own. In 609 CE, Pope Boniface IV established All Martyrs' Day on May 13th in honor of the Virgin Mary and all Christian martyrs. Pope Gregory III, during his reign from 731 to 741 CE, later expanded the festival to include All Saints, thus making it All Saints' Day. The day of observance was also moved from May 13th to November 1st. In 1000 CE, the Church made November 2nd All Souls' Day, a day to honor the dead. It's believed the church was attempting to replace the Celtic festival of the dead with a similar but Chang-sanctioned holiday. All Souls' Day was celebrated similarly to Samhain with big bonfires, parades, and costumes of saints, angels, and devils. Additionally, the previously mentioned All Saints' Day would also be called All Hallows or All Hallows Mass, and the night before, October 31st, was called All Hallows Eve and eventually Halloween. It was the beginning of Halloween. Important to note during this time was the practice of souling, in which the poor visited the homes of the wealthy and received pastries called soul cakes in exchange for a promise to pray for the souls of the homeowner's dead relatives. In Scotland and Ireland in particular, young people took part in a similar tradition called guising, in which they would dress in costume and accept offerings from various households. However, instead of pledging to pray for the dead, they would perform some trick such as singing a song, reciting a poem, or telling a trick before collecting their tree. Moving ahead a few centuries, and we get to Halloween in the United States. In colonial New England, Halloween was extremely limited because of the rigid Protestant beliefs, which banned fun and didn't allow for Catholic celebrations. Still, as the beliefs of different European ethnic groups and Native Americans blended together, a distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the fall harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance, and sing. By the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivities were common, but Halloween itself was not celebrated everywhere in the country. In the second half of the 19th century, America was flooded with new immigrants, particularly the Irish who were fleeing the Irish potato famine. The Irish brought several holiday customs with them, including apple bobbing and guising. Young children would wear masks to avoid recognition and pull pranks like removing fence gates from neighbors. This eventually grew into outright vandalism by the 1930s. Soon, homeowners and store owners began giving kids candy as treats, and kids were encouraged to travel door to door for treats instead of pulling pranks. This was the beginning of trick-or-treating, and it was the beginning of Halloween. And there you have it, a brief history of Halloween from its Celtic origins to its current mishmash of cultural influences. So tonight, as you don your costumes and receive your candy, take a moment to appreciate the millennia of history behind this spooky, sugar-filled celebration. Thank you all for watching, and take care everybody.